Just to structure the event today, we will start with signing off one agreement between East African Power Pool and ISA, because we have more collaboration, so that will bring more and more synergy in our working, and it will add more and more value. So what we would do, we will have this signing of this with DGISA and Secretary General of EAPP in presence of Honorable Minister from Maldives. So I will request the Secretary General for coming for signing this.
Thank you very much. And we look forward to working closely with you. No, he keeps one. Oh,
Thank you for exchanging this MOU, and it's a starting of a more engagement with Africa and India, I mean International Solar Alliance. Now I'll request Honorable DG to give a welcome remarks, followed by, I will also request Secretary General EAPP to talk about it.
Thank you, Ramesh. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, a very, very good afternoon, and I'm delighted that all of you are here today afternoon. I particularly want to thank the East African Power Pool and its Executive Secretary, Mr. Wagu, for this landmark agreement. This session is about the One Sun, One World, One Grid initiative, which is about connecting various regional grids to each other so that solar electricity, or let's say renewable electricity in general, can be moved from one geography to another, despite the fact that the sun may not be shining in one of the geographies. So, for example, transferring electricity from the East African Power Pool to this part of the world, or to India, would be very useful, because when it is dark in India, it is still light in the areas in the countries and regions that are part of the East African Power Pool. However, for this to happen, we need three things. One is political engagement. The second is institutional engagement, which we are making happen here. And the third is research and knowledge sharing. Because we can convince countries for the political engagement to occur only if this is based on sound research, and this is based on an understanding of the benefits that will flow to both the countries that are sending the energy and that which is receiving the energy. For that which is sending the energy, obviously the benefit is, yes, they get paid for it, even though they may have had to set up extra facilities. And for those who haven't, well, it allows them to use solar electricity and then compare it against the cost of putting up more storage facilities, more batteries. If you can enable flows, you can therefore reduce the dynamic of the need for storage in off peak hours when you use it. At the International Solar Alliance, now you may recall that in 2 years ago at Glasgow, this was announced as the GGI, Green Grid Initiative, GGI OSOWOG, One Sun, One World, One Grid Initiative. We are looking obviously at densifying the grids that exist in a particular region as well as connecting those regional grids. We therefore commissioned the EDF, the Electricité de France, to look at this issue. And they have been engaged in doing so. Under phase one, a technical study was done which included finalizing the inputs, assumptions, and constraints that were needed for the simulation of One Sun, One World, One Grid flows, the regional connector flows between different regions. In phase two, the model made the simulations and identified the techno-economically viable regional interconnections within the OSOWOG parameter, and we looked at 8 such regional grids, including the East African power pool. Phase 3 is a comprehensive roadmap for some of the pilots that can start off within the OSOWOG perimeter region and can be developed. This gives us the research and the benefits which help to make the political engagement happen. I want to extend my gratitude for your valuable inputs of each one of you as we go ahead with this discussion on how to enhance these linkages in the years to come. I'm very sure that our shared commitment would provide the way for enabling universal access to renewable electricity, making our planet a better place to live. Again, let me thank you all for being here and for this discussion.
Thank you, Honorable DG, for that welcome remarks. I will now request Mr. James K. Wahogo, the Secretary General of EAPP, to say a few words on signing this agreement. Yeah, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, Honorable Minister, Honorable Director General of ISA. I'm very delighted on this occasion where we have both entered into a memorandum of understanding of cooperation on the development of large-scale grid-connected solar projects in the EA region. The Eastern African Power Pool consists of 13 countries, right from Libya, Egypt, coming down to Sudan, Ethiopia, Djibouti, Somalia, Kenya, Tanzania, then Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, and the DRC. So it's a big area. It goes beyond what many people would call East Africa. So it goes beyond East Africa. It includes countries of the north. And eventually, the power pool is to be integrated with the Southern African power pool and ultimately to all the other power pools in East Africa. The region is also very much endowed with renewable energy, including solar. We have hydropower, especially in Ethiopia, which makes it good for solar integration because of the flexibility, as well as geothermal along the Eastern African Rift, and also wind. I think it's one of the best areas or regions for the development of wind power. So with this MOU signing, I believe it shall go a long way because I believe ISA and its technical partners have a lot of knowledge, and they have a wide network who understands all these issues on what is required to develop large-scale solar power projects. I'm also excited that they would also support the member countries in mobilizing some of the funding which is required and de-risking the projects so that they can be realized. So with those few remarks, I know I'll talk much later on some of the other issues. I thank you once again, and I thank the audience for listening to me and for attending this occasion. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Honorable Secretary General EAPP, for your words. Now I will request Honorable Minister, Mr. Tariq Ibrahim from Maldives, to give the keynote address for this session. Over to you, sir.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable delegates, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you all. I come from the Republic of Maldives, a small island development state which comprises of 1,190 dispersed islands, out of which 189 inhabited islands and 158 islands are used as tourist resorts. Major economic activity of the Maldives is tourism, which contributes to roughly 28% of our GDP. However, COVID has outlined the limitations in the economic model of this island country, which has been majorly dependent on tourism and fishing. Thus, rapid transformation and diversification of the country's economic activities will be critical to its recovery. To address this transformation, a reliable and affordable energy supply is required, as the nation has no fossil fuel reserves in the country. Clean energy transition has become an essential strategic component of bilateral equations. This is because clean energy deployment is not just an international commitment, but it is also a security concern to Maldives. However, transitioning from primary diesel-based energy mix to renewable-led power system is a costly investment for an island nation like Maldives. We have initiated a number of renewable energy projects in the country aiming to transform the country's energy system and making the energy system self-sufficient, cost-effective, and cleaner. Our goal is to produce 33% of our electricity needs through renewable energy in the next 5 years and reduce the country's resilience on fossil fuel for power generation, lower electricity price, and improve people's livelihood. For island nations like Maldives, Prime Minister Modi's initiative, the One Sun, One World, One Grid initiative holds immense promise and benefits. The One Sun, One World, One Grid initiative can provide technology and technical support to overcome the challenges. In addition, this initiative is crucial to provide access to clean and reliable energy for achieving various SDGs, including those related to poverty alleviations, health, education, and economic growth. One Sun, One World, One Grid initiative will offer island countries a pathway to energy sustainability, climate resilience, and accelerated progress towards achieving their sustainable development goals. By participating in this initiative, island nations can play a pivotal role in shaping a more sustainable and interconnected global energy landscape. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for your keynote address. Uh, we will have a panel discussion, but before going for a panel discussion, we have Dr. Subir Sen, who is the head of the task force created for overseeing these initial studies on OSOWOG, so that he can sensitize, he can disseminate the information, where do we stand, what are the vision, and where do we stand. So I'll request Dr. Sen to give your presentation, and I'll request the dignitaries to be present so that you can have this presentation seen.
Good afternoon to all. So at the outset, I express my sincere thanks to International Solar Alliance for giving us opportunity to share our views regarding the formulation of the One Sun, One World, One Grid program to accelerate the sustainable development as well as to facilitate clean energy transition. So I prepared a few slides for the structured presentation. So this will be around 10 minutes duration, broadly divided into 3 parts. One is the power scenario. Since I am from Power Grid Corporation of India, so I will also give a little bit highlights about the power scenario in India, followed by the power scenario of the regional grids, right from the Southeast Asia up to the European Union. So in between South Asia, then Middle East, that is Gulf Cooperating Council, and African nation. And then the mechanism for the development of the transnational interconnection, because since 1st of December, we are listening continuously that the energy transition through the renewable or the clean can only happen if we have the robust transmission infrastructure supported by the suitable policy and regulatory framework and the financing mechanism. So I will highlight that part followed by the conclusion. So this is the regional grids we are talking about. These major 5 regional grids for the interconnections, I will say gradually. Then if you see the power supply scenario in India, today we have around 424 gigawatt is the installed power capacity. Out of that, more than 42% is the share of the non-fossil fuel, comprising the solar, wind, large-scale hydro, and little bit the nuclear also. These 424 gigawatt is meeting the peak requirement of around 240 gigawatt, peak demand. And by the year 2030, we are targeting that the installed capacity would be more than 777 gigawatt. And that will be around more than 52% will be contribution from the non-fossil fuel source. So today, the non-fossil fuel capacity in the installed capacity is around 186 gigawatt. And that we are expecting more than 500 gigawatt by the year 2030. So majorly the solar, around 300 gigawatt, then followed by the wind, around 140, and the large scale hydro and etc. If you see these regional grids, the Southeast Asia, South Asia, GCC, Africa, and the European, So the altogether installed capacity is around 2,250 gigawatt. This is the data which are publicly available. We have collected that information. The green part in the left-hand side diagram shows the contribution in the installed capacity portfolio by the renewable sources. Then by the year 2030, it is envisaged that will increase by 1.65 times to around 3,700 gigawatt. And then you see the share of the green part is increasing continuously. Similarly, if we see the demand side, that the demand, which is roughly around 1,190 gigawatt as of today, if we accumulate all these 5 regional grids, so that will again increase by around 1.5 times to around 1,800 gigawatt roughly of this. And these are the total individual capacity we have also mentioned here. So these all are from the publicly available information. Now, we are telling that we have to develop the renewable energy resources. Previous speaker was telling that it was costly also. So how to optimize that? So that is the challenge. So if you see that the time diversity, if we travel from the Southeast Asia one corner to the, say, Africa another corner, there is a time diversity of around 6.5 hours. So the peak time diversity as well as the generation supply diversity is there. The Honorable DG also mentioned that when there is no sunshine in the Southeast Asia, there is a sunshine in the Africa and the Middle East. So it can be this time diversity, both in the supply side at the peak, can be gainfully utilized. So we have to work upon on this. Furthermore, the renewable energy sources, though the wind is blowing, sun is shining everywhere, but the quality of the wind and the quality of the irradiance of the solar intensity is not uniform. So depending upon that good potential, so it is unevenly distributed, even the renewable energy resources. So we have to make a gainful utilization in an optimal fashion for this uneven distribution of energy resources. So we are talking about, since the one sun, one world, one grid, so we are talking about the interconnection of the regional grids. Every region, they are already interconnected. So intra-regional interconnections are there, be it in the Southeast Asia, South Asia, African nation, or even the GCC. So they are intra-regional interconnected. So what is missing is we have to provide the transnational interconnection. So that is the idea behind the one sun, one world, and one grid. So these are the benefits, broad benefits we have highlighted, that if we interconnect the grids, whether it is an intra-regional or inter-regional, so one benefit is that it can provide a clean energy development, it can accelerate. Then, as I told, that facilitate the optimal utilization of the uneven disposition of the renewable energy resources, whether it is a hydro or solar, wind, etc. The most important aspect is economy in operation. We need not to install the individual renewable capacity everywhere. So the same capacity can be utilized by all these interconnected regions. So this will bring the economy in operation. This will share the reserves, because renewable, though they are intermittent, variable, seasonality effect, uncertainties are there, but so balancing reserves need to be maintained to ensure that the system frequency will intact, the consumers will not deprive of the non-supply of the electricity. So the essential part is that we have to maintain a balancing reserves. So there is a reserve sharing will happen. It need not that every control area or every region has to maintain their own reserves. So it is a common reserve, so that can be gainfully utilized. The another important aspect is that if we have to do in a standalone mode the solar, which is available during the daytime, then in the evening time, we have to depend on the other type of sources, whether it is a ramping reserves, ramping up, ramping down, or the energy reserves. So both are required. So For this purpose, what is required is that we are talking about the energy storage, maybe the pump storage hydro plant or maybe the battery energy storage system. But today there is not that much cost competitive happening. So here also what we can achieve is that we can defer the investment towards installation of this kind of energy storage system if we make a transnational interconnection. The economies of scale it will bring because it will facilitate development of the large size plant, because since this will create a market, this will create a demand holistically, so we can develop a large size plant. So that will bring the economies of scale as well as development of the high capacity transmission infrastructure, which will also equally address the rights of way for development of the transmission system. The grid stability it will improve because since the larger masses will be connected, so that will improve the grid stability. So from the system point of view, it will be also very beneficial, both in terms of the frequency stability as well as the voltage stability too. So another important aspect is the mutual support during the emergency conditions. If the physical interconnections are available, so in the event of emergency, which is not foreseen a priori, so the other region can extend the support to the affected regions also. So mutual support is also possible, especially during the emergency support. This will also facilitate development of the vibrant power market. Not only facilitate normalization of the electricity prices, but also facilitate access to the low-cost energy, low-cost clean energy to each and every consumer. So these are the broad benefits if we extend the interconnections. Now, for the mode of interconnection, there are 5 aspects need to be considered. One is the technical aspects, whether it will be a synchronous interconnection or asynchronous interconnection like HVDC or AC, or even the radial interconnections. So that we have to identify depending upon the point of interconnections, quantum of transfer, maybe in the initial time and in the successive period, how much have to be increased. Then also the point of interconnection is also very much important, because it is not only the in transnational interconnection, we have to see the onward and backward infrastructure, whether they are able to deliver this or not. The second aspect, we have to see the implementation part, that who is going to implement the transnational link, because it is crossing the boundary of the 2 different regions, so that part needs to be addressed. So that can be done. One way is that each and every area, the transmission service provider can construct this thing, or maybe some JV, or maybe some special purpose vehicle can be done. Then who is going to own that infrastructure? Who is going to operate and maintain that link? The third aspect is the operational aspect, the energy metering, energy accounting, scheduling, then settlement mechanism. So that has to be also addressed, and entire grid management for this transnational part also. So here we need the regulatory aspects are also important. The commercial part is also needs to be deliberated. The mode of transaction, whether it will be a bilateral mode of transaction or a multilateral mode of transaction or through the power market mode of transaction. So that needs to be also deliberated upon. And the investment of who is going to invest for this link, and how the investment will get recovered, and the payment security mechanism. So these matters need to be deliberated upon. Last but not the least is the setting up of the suitable institutional framework or institutional regulatory mechanisms for this cross-border link, the harmonization of this grid code, and there are various forums or the committees can be formed to look upon these aspects. Then just little bit, because the India and the South Asia is already extended the interconnections with their neighboring countries. We have a robust, resilient national grid, and this national grid is already extended to our neighboring countries such as Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, and Myanmar also. And these links presently is having around 4,100 megawatt power transfer capacity cumulative, and many other links are under different stages of implementation, which will bring the capacity more than 8,000 megawatt in the next 2 to 3 years' time, and many more are under planning stage, which will further augment that or strengthen the capacity more than 13 gigawatt cumulative capacity. So these are the various links, and some of the links we are also under planning stages, like India, Sri Lanka, and India, Myanmar, through the HVDC links. Now, if we extend this kind of these cross-border interconnections to the regional grids, like Southeast Asia, GCC, and the Africa, etc. So this is the broad framework which the technical study team have carried out. So you can see from the right east corner to the west side. So as I told initially, that all these regional grids are intra-regionally interconnected. So we have to only extend the transnational interconnection part. So the Indian grid, we are talking, or the South Asian grid, we are talking to extend the interconnection with Myanmar through the HVDC back-to-back link, and then Myanmar can be interconnected with the Thailand. In this way, it can be interconnected with the Southeast Asia, because in the Southeast Asia and ASEAN grid is already interconnected. The another alternative route is that Indian grid can be interconnected with the Singapore grid. So that is again through the HVDC link with a undersea power cable. On the western side, the South Asian grid can be interconnected with the GCC grid, maybe through the Oman, or now we are also trying for the Saudi Arab and UAE. That option is also going on. Again, it is an HVDC link, because it is a cable operation, and that long distance AC cable is not feasible technically, so it is a HVDC undersea cable. We have also proposed for interconnection with the Maldives with the HVDC links, around 400 megawatt HVDC synchronous as a monopole. We have already proposed for this. Similarly, for the India to Sri Lanka also. And then the beauty is that the Africa and the Middle East is getting connected through the HVDC link between the Saudi Arab to Egypt. So once this connection will be established, it is already under implementation. Then Egypt to Greece is also proposed. So in that way, it will be through Cyprus. So it will be connected through the European grid. Already African grid is connected to the European grid from the northern side. So this is the broad framework, and these technical studies are preliminarily conducted, and it shows that there is a techno-economic viability is there for establishment of such kind of link. This is a bird's eye view of the proposed interconnections with the various regional grids. The dotted line shows that they are the proposed links, and mostly they are HVDC back-to-back link. In the initial phase, it is better to ensure that there will be no these system operational issues, because until unless the common regulatory framework will be in place, the common minimum grid code will be in place, so it will be very difficult to operate otherwise. So the back-to-back HVDC link will act as separator. It will facilitate control power flow. It will not propagate the fault also from one grid to the other grid. So in this way, it will be beneficial. At the same time, it will facilitate transfer of power, but the renewable power in an economic fashion. So this is the broad contour which we have already drawn as part of the national this one sun, one world, one grid. So in the end, I will say that this is possible, but the formulation which are very much required or framework is first and foremost is the political agreement, because it is between the two countries is going to happen. So until unless the political agreement is there, so nothing can happen. Then followed by the technical studies, identify the technical team and do the technical studies for the what type of interconnections it will be, how much quantum, what will be the point of interconnections, what will be the modalities of implementation, what is the mode of power transfer, how to do the investment, the financing part also. The last but not the least is the knowledge sharing and the capacity building. So until unless we do the knowledge sharing part and the capacity building and the research part and the technological part, including the field visits, so it will be not having that much impact on that. So at the end, I will say all these things, if we summarize, the the transnational grid interconnection is techno-economically viable options to accelerate the sustainable development as well as advancing the energy transition in a further accelerated way. But we need a proper collaboration, cooperation, and coordination among all these agencies. So the energy transition, the transmission interconnection, it will play a pivotal role. So with these words, I will stop my presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Subir Sen, for your very comprehensive and very uh, detailed presentation on what is happening, where do we stand on the things to be carried out for this One Sun, One World, One Grid. So with that, I will request for a panel discussion because many aspects needs to be discussed so that this is a great vision, but it requires a lot of deliberations, a lot of inputs, and need to address various aspects of including the market, including the technical part of it, regulatory part of it, the political part of it. Everything needs to be discussed. So I will request for a panel discussion, and I'll call the panel members to come to the dais here, starting with Mr. James K. Wahogo, the Secretary General of EAPP. Please join. Mr. R.K. Tyagi, the Director Operations. Yeah. What I will do, because Dr. Subir Sen has to be the kind of anchor for everything. He is the whole of architect who is working on this. So he will be more on the other side to answer the question. I would request for him. Yeah, Mr. Chandrasekhar Govindarajlu, who is from the World Bank, because the World Bank is playing very important role world over for such regional grids, which we are working on that. Ms. Jyoti Parikh, she has been working for the Southeast Asia and the South Asian grid, because the many inputs will come from her for taking this OSOWOG forward. Please come, madam. Mr. Rajiv Kumar Porwal, one of the, from the POSOCO, is a Grid India, what we call today, who is operating one of the, I think, the biggest grid working in a single frequency. I will also request Mr. Abubakar from Nigeria to join this panel. And my friend from Guinea, the Director General of Energy, Mr. Mambi Domboya. So welcome all the panelists. So we will, and because many of the questions I'll be looking at you to as an input for, because the studies are in an advanced stage today. Many of these inputs will add value to the studies to be completed. So then I would like request Dr. Sen to be available there throughout this discussion, so that if anything he can clarify and give value for that. So let me first start with Jyoti Parikh, because she has been working in the corridors of Southeast Asia and South Asia. Based on this presentation, what are the inputs you would like to give? Because the many things have happened, as Dr. Sen was telling, these integration activities have already taken up. So what would be the inputs from you today for this presentation? Thank you. Over to you.
Okay. Thank you very much for inviting me. We have had a wonderful start with the signing of the agreement, and also a very good presentation from Power Grid by Mr. Subir Sen. So I would like to first also say that when you do regional connectivity, there are small and medium-sized countries in Southeast Asia, whereas in India, I mean in the what we call BBINs, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, and Sri Lanka, there is there are India is a big country and there are 3 nations. So that matters somewhat because there are 26 international transmission lines in Southeast Asia, whereas here we have 10 or 12, depending upon whether you count up to 400 or 132 kV. So that and both countries are kind of exchanging north-south actually, and somewhat Bangladesh and Nepal may be exchanging east-west, because there are also wind powers, hydro resources, and it's not just about solar energy, but it's many, many renewables. They all are intermittency. They all have problems of that. And if we all make it together, then it's worthwhile. We also did some modeling work for 2030 and 2040, and we see that Southeast Asia, right now we have a similar about 12 to 1400, they have little less terawatt hour system, and both are likely to be 5,000 by 2045 or 50. So when they grow, that's the time when they can actually interact a lot more. We were transporting, I mean, because of the hydro and India's coal, we were already doing with Bhutan and then later on Nepal, but even importers, Bangladesh is a good complement to start importing, because you need importers also and exporters also. So that is the one more difference, that who are the importers, who are the exporters. Then there is also an issue that they are, they have, there is an institutional mechanism or not. And Southeast Asia has a HAPUA, heads of planning units of all countries, 10 countries. So these 10 countries get together and decide. Whereas India and other 3 countries, but then they have a power market, which is also a powerful instrument or facility. And we do term ahead, day ahead, and annual. So all these things are adding up, and it is adding up to a lot. And there is a transparency in prices, because there's a power market giving you price every 15 minutes. And that gives you a lot of confidence in putting up the facility, because unless there is a assurance that how it is going, and they began to understand that, and earlier they were worried about what happens if some problem arises between the 2 countries and our investments will go waste. So investors have to be assured of the risk-free environment, and that is what has happened. So we are earlier doing it. And the second thing I would like to say is it's not just about power markets, power systems. It's about economy, and it's about environment also. CO2 savings can be about 700 million tons if you do even just the Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, and later on Sri Lanka. Whereas, so that's one. And second was economy. You know that Bhutan was a poor country with half the per capita income as India. And after selling the electricity, it has become now richer, twice as rich than India, 4 times, so from half to twice. And Nepal is quickly following the same. Bangladesh is increasing its economic output because it has now less electricity problems. So it's also about economy. It's much beyond power system. It's about economy and environment. Thank you.
Many thanks, Madam Jyoti, for your inputs. I think one of the very important factors you also told, because of the interconnection, the people are becoming more economically developing in Bhutan, and also very good information which you have shared. Uh, Now I'll come to Mr. James K. Wahogo, uh, because I'm just going to the Africa. Africa, like I think in Africa we have five regional power pools, and yesterday also we had a discussion, and you also talked about within the region also is getting connected. So uh, parallelly, the regional connectivity within the continent also is happening. If you can throw some light on that, and eventually it all get integrated, would be a bigger market. So I will request your thoughts and share your information on that.
Thank you very much, moderator. Yes, so the Eastern African Power Pool, as I've mentioned in my opening remarks, is consisted of 13 member countries. And from the presentation from Mr. Tajoti, I've seen that your point of entry is in Egypt. So starting from there, Egypt is connected to Libya. Then going south, Egypt is connected to Sudan, but not synchronized to the grid. I think that's a radio line. Sudan is connected to Ethiopia by a 220 kV line. Ethiopia is connected to Djibouti, and they are trading presently with another 220 kV line. From Ethiopia to Kenya, there is a recently commissioned 500 kV DC line, which has a capacity of 2,000 megawatts. Then going eastwards, there is a node line between Kenya and Uganda. It's more than 60 years old. It's one of the oldest in the region with a small capacity, but there is another 400 kV line under construction. Then you have the line from Uganda to Rwanda is 220. Then Rwanda and Burundi are not yet connected, but there is some work going on. And Rwanda is connected to the eastern side of DRC. And then Kenya and Tanzania, there is a line which is going to be commissioned by the end of this year, which has a capacity of 400 kV AC with a carrying capacity of, I think, 1,500. Then there is a planned interconnection with the Southern African Power Pool, which is quite interconnected. The SSPP, and they already have a power market. So that line, hopefully between Tanzania and Zambia, will be commissioned by the end of this year with not a very high capacity. But Tanzania itself is connecting to other countries on SAP, such as Mozambique and Malawi. So briefly, that is the situation. And lastly, as EAPP, we are planning to launch the day-ahead market, a centralized market, in the next 15 months or so. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Secretary General, for throwing light on that. I think these inputs also will go to Dr. Subir Sen when he is planning the OSOWOG part of it. Because eventually we will be looking at connecting through GCC to Saudi to Egypt, and then getting connected to the African power pool or to the European side. So all these inputs are very, very important. So let me now come to Mr. Chandrasekhar Govindrajulu to give a global picture, because the World Bank, in fact, these OSOWOG studies, thanks to World Bank, the support on the financial support based on which the studies are undertaken. Your inputs at this stage, this OSOWOG, so that we can take care of many factors from the learning from the other regions, like Madam Jyoti has talked about the Southeast Asia and South Asia. I would look for you to a global level inputs on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramesh. Again, it's a pleasure to be here at this event. Thank you for the opportunity. So the World Bank is strongly supporting the One Sun, One world, one grid, one world initiative. I think because it will optimize the utilization of renewable energy, and as well as bring energy security and energy access to the places that need them most. So we are fully supportive, and obviously we, as you mentioned, we have been working together on structuring some of the initial studies as well as the regulatory frameworks that will be needed. So we are very happy to be providing that assistance, and hopefully we can continue to do that. So number two. Then I have a couple of observations and a couple of areas where where we can be useful and where the World Bank experience can be useful as well. First is with respect to the financing aspect, because we are a bank and we have been financing interconnections, and we have been supporting power pools, preparation, establishment of the power pool for many years. For example, the most recent investment that I can think of is the Tunisia-Italy interconnector, the ELMED project that has been in the works for many years. At first, we committed $270 million for that, including some amount of financing from the Green Climate Fund, $25 million. So that is a sort of thing that could also be, we are there for structuring those sorts of public funding as well as public-private aspects of where the private sector can come in. So one area where further work is needed, especially with respect to interconnected grids and climate financing, is in developing some robust methodologies for greenhouse gas reductions. In fact, if you have to support, there was some interest from the Southern African power pool, and I'm sure that is an area of interest for other power pools and other interconnections also on whether this can be done. And there is still some work need to be done in having a robust methodology. We are in, GCF at issue has started discussing that with us also. So that is one area I would say that we need a bit of work and thought more than work. And then second one is on the issue of storage that Mr. Sen also highlighted very rightly, that one would think that if you have the grids, then the need for storage is less. Yes, agreed. Again, in that case also, in the case of the West Africa Power Pool, we have recently funded a project in which some amount of storage is needed to make sure the connections are working and the frequency bands are met and so on. So that is one part of it. The second part of it is also that you would need until the stage that everybody is connected. At some point, as you go westward, there would be need for unless you can connect them further west to the across the Atlantic, you would need to build a fair amount of reliability and storage and security to that part of the grid. That is the West Africa. West Africa part of the grid needs to have, where are they going to go? I mean, if India, if Southeast Asia is going to benefit from India, India is going to benefit from Middle East is going to be. So we have to think through. I'm sure there are other ways of doing it as well. So that is one area where we need to think long duration storage, interseasonal storage, short duration. What is the role of these things, and which technologies and what options are possible? I'll stop there for now. It's a fascinating topic. We are happy to be there. We are also happy to play the convening role as we have played in the case of other interconnections and electricity market efforts. So happy to continue to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chandra. Very, very interesting and wonderful information, the thoughts which you have already shared on this thing. Beyond West Africa, where do we go? That's an interesting question, to cross the Atlantic, Now let me come to Mr. Abubakar, my friend from Nigeria, is a national focal point. Yesterday's discussions, I also understand there is a very, very isolated grids that I think within the country also requires a lot of integration. In fact, the power grid also has agreed to be to help you on that, so that missions will happen. But I think this the overall scheme which we are talking about, OSOWOG, what would be your inputs to this? Because in a longer term, this should benefit the countries like Nigeria and even the other countries like Guinea, all should get benefit out of it. So your thought on that, yeah.
Thank you very much for this very important program, the One Sun, One Wall, and One Grid. As we have the abundant natural resources across the globe, which Africa and especially West Africa has a lot of potential of sunshine. And before I start, I want to, reiterate on the collaboration we are having with ISA, because that's the beginning of the One Sun, One Wall, One Grid. If you have all the, policies, regulatory framework, and also the initiatives of policy of government on ground, then that is how you start, and you grow up to the regional, inter-state, and then go to the regional. Our collaboration with ISA has been member of this International Solar Alliance. ISA has given support in terms of scholarship to a lot of, policy makers in Nigeria to come and study in India on the renewable masters in renewable energy technologies, yeah, which about 4 of my engineers benefited from that. My deputy sitting there, he is also one of the graduates of this institution in India here. Yeah. And presently now 2 are undergoing the masters in technology studies in India. And at the same time, when they come back, being, studying here, they will definitely impact as policymakers, young engineers that are growing in the system, to bring into the fore for the development of this renewable energy policies and framework from where it has been happening. And that's why we are here, and that's why the Indian is the presidency of ISA. And the second one is Indian mission were in Nigeria in September, which we invited them to come and see how we are going to partner to support on some viability gap funding for some of our projects that we started to implement in public buildings. We want to actually take out the public buildings from the grid. Like the Federal Secretariat, the Ministry of Power now, we are doing 1 megawatt. Nigerian Defense Academy, Naval Base, we are doing 2 megawatts there. That's the beginning to take off those from the grid so that we have a lot of energy to go around. And the third one is for us to succeed as a country, and also for us to bring in investors, because government cannot do it all. You need private sector participation in this power game. And we now, during the energy transition meeting for the G20 in India, I represented the country on also about 5 or 6 different meetings up to the last day. And also at the last assembly, I represented the minister because they were just inaugurated newly. He couldn't able to be there. So I raised an issue because it was agreed that for support for this viability gap funding and also initiate, solar project, once initiation is initiation has been taken, it has to go to the regional body for it to get approval before it will be implemented. I raised an issue there. Why can't we give the DG ISA the mandate for him to review those studies, and since he has a competent team on ground, for them to review and then give approval at the DG's level to avoid going back to the regional body, which is sitting once in a year. It will delay implementation of project, which I believe it was supported in that meeting. And as a result of that, ISA now is sending experts on regulation and policy implementation for one wall, one solar, one wall, and one grid, which they are coming to Nigeria between 12th December to 15, so that we are going to bring in all the power sector players for them to have, a conference or discussion. How did actually India made it that they have more than 350 megawatts of solar on their grid? And we know it is as a result of this policy framework, regulatory, market issues, and also financing. So that it's good for them to come, we discuss, and now we know exactly what are. So that from the policy point of view, if government will have the political will to bring in all those things on table, I believe private sectors will come in, and our development partners, the World Bank, the African Development Bank, Financing Corporation, all they will now, have less work to do to implement solar projects. So these are the key elements we've been doing. And in June 8th, 2003, our president has signed the new Electricity Act, which has unbundled the electricity sector, whereby states can also, develop their own regulatory, but in affiliation with the state, with the federal regulatory body, for them to implement implement projects and have a robust network within the states. And that one will also open, ways for investors to come and, look at solar project to install. But with this training that we are going to have with ISA, because we are calling all the states, all the investors, private sectors, they are all coming to listen and how we are going to put our heads together and move. Being at the policy level, I am the Director of Renewable and Rural Power Access in the Federal Ministry of Power. I am going to coordinate that and we'll make sure we achieve that. And when you come to regional integration, the West African Power Pool has been playing a very important role, a significant and a lead, which the Managing Director of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, he is the, leading the chair of the West African Power Pool. And the World Bank and African Development Bank, as he mentioned, they are really supporting. And Nigeria, we have, a lot of hydropower potentials. And we are, the new president, we hope, in some month to go, he's going to commission the 700 megawatt Zungeru hydropower plant, along other small and medium hydropower plants, 40 megawatts that we're building to the grid, like Kashimbila and Dadinkowa, they are fully completed, integrated to the grid. So, and also you have, we have a lot of gas potential with the gas pipeline, the AKK from the southern to the north that is coming. We will have a lot of base load to the grid. And without robust transmission infrastructure and base load, solar cannot really make impact. But presently in Nigeria, we don't have solar connected, to the grid. But we have decentralized solar, which to the Rural Electrification Agency has done a lot in the sector for off-grid and embedded solar. I know we just commissioned 10 megawatt solar to one of the distribution companies through embedded generation through the intervention of the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Fund. And also through my department, we have now awarded 10 megawatt solar. I believe in the next 3-4 months, we are going to commission that at the 10 megawatt Katsina wind farm to hybridize the wind farm for effective operation. That one too is going to be embedded generation through one of the discos. So with all this I mentioned, solar integration to the grid is key. And WAP is doing a lot. And from the presentation, you can see that from the West African Power Pool, if everything goes successfully, it's going to be connected through Senegal to Morocco. And last month, our Minister of Power commissioned the Regional Control Center at Togo for the West African Power Pool. So I think this is a very remarkable, achievement and agreement within the sub-region for us to have a one grid system. But solar connection is the key. We have to harness the solar potential to do that. So all what I mentioned, regulatory framework, policy, investment, and also to have one frequency that will actually, benefit the region is key. So let me stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for a detailed intervention. Thank you for sharing your inputs for ISA as well as for the regional connectivity, because ultimately West African Power Pool and East African Power Pool also get interconnected, so that the benefits are there. Let me come to Mr. Mambi Domboya, the Director of Energy Guinea, to share your thoughts. I think we have a small issue of, I think you can get connected to you'll be speaking in French. Yeah, so I will just get
Merci, monsieur le modérateur. Merci de m'avoir invité sur ce panel qui est aussi intéressant pour tout le monde et avec tous ces panélistes expérimentés. Et je remercie d'avoir fait ce panel en compagnie du doyen Aboubakar, dont nous partageons le même power pool, le power pool West Africa. Comme il le disait tout de suite, dans notre région aussi, ce power pool, le secrétariat exécutif a beaucoup fait. C'est eux qui ont fait la plupart des études de réseau. Les études de réseau pour pouvoir interconnecter les 14 pays de la sous-région. À l'occasion de ça, aujourd'hui, on peut dire que toute la sous-région, il y a l'échange d'énergie électrique qui existe entre les pays. Le marché régional aussi a été mis en place il y a 4 ans déjà, le marché d'échange d'énergie. Et cela trouvait déjà qu'il y a des embryons de marché. Le Nigeria vendait de l'énergie au Niger, au Togo et au Bénin. De l'autre côté aussi, la Côte d'Ivoire échangeait de l'énergie avec le Ghana et la Côte d'Ivoire échangeait de l'énergie avec le Burkina. Dans cette région, il se trouve que le West Africa Power Pool, le secrétariat exécutif, a organisé, à partir d'une étude sérieuse, toutes ces régulations en des sous-régions. Il y a des pays qui sont des régulateurs, des pays qui sont considérés comme ayant de la puissance de production la plus grande, telle que le Nigeria et telle que la Côte d'Ivoire, le Ghana aussi, et la Guinée. Dans chaque zone de régulation, la régulation est confiée à un pays. Au niveau du CIC, le centre de communication et d'information qui va gérer l'ensemble des informations concernant l'échange d'énergie, le flux d'énergie existant en temps réel est en train de se mettre en place à Cotonou. Donc, en 2024, ce centre permettra à temps réel, avec tous les producteurs indépendants et tous les demandeurs d'énergie, de s'adresser à ce centre pour pouvoir trouver où est l'énergie disponible et à quel prix je peux acheter pour pouvoir alimenter et satisfaire mes besoins. De l'autre côté aussi, il y a l'autorité de régulation. L'autorité de régulation, comme il le disait le doyen Aboubakar, veille à la mise en place de définir les seuils, le code du réseau. Le code du réseau pour que tout le monde, tous les pays puissent se conformer à ça. Le code du réseau permettra à pouvoir intégrer les réseaux nationaux de transport au réseau sous-régional. Donc, l'autorité de régulation aussi est en train de faciliter cette partie technique qui mérite des études denses pour pouvoir faire l'interconnexion une réalité et l'échange d'énergie entre les pays une réalité. En plus de ça, l'autorité de régulation a veillé à mettre en place un programme, un modèle de contrat d'achat d'énergie pour pouvoir mettre déjà en conformité les demandeurs d'énergie et les vendeurs. Et aussi à voir dans quelles possibilités il faut uniformiser le coût de transport sur le réseau national. Donc, dans notre sous-région, tout cela est en train de se mettre en place. C'est des choses très intéressantes dont notre pays aussi participe parce qu'à date, à l'instar du Nigeria et de la Côte d'Ivoire, nous venons d'échanger un contrat d'achat d'énergie avec la Gambie et avec le Libéria également, dont à des saisons de pluie, au moment où nous allons beaucoup de production, nous allons les vendre de l'énergie. Eux aussi, à leur sein, ils sont en train de développer des centrales solaires comme la Guinée aussi. Et j'ai dit ici l'autre jour que chez nous, on compte notre production de base est l'hydraulique et on compte développer de l'énergie solaire aussi pour mettre dans le même réseau. Et cela, la régulation et la stabilité du réseau seraient beaucoup plus facilitées pour tout le monde. Dans mon pays est considéré comme une zone de régulation qui va réguler non seulement l'énergie ou la distribution au niveau du Libéria, mais aussi au niveau de la Guinée-Bissau et de la Sierra Leone. Je vous remercie.
That's wonderful, Mr. Domboya. You have covered the entire things happening in the region and in the sub-regional level, and including you are one of the having a lot of hydro potential, and you also will be adding more solar, and then all these integrations should. I think it should create a win-win situation for all the countries. I think depending on the season, depending on the demand, all these should create a win-win situation for all. That should be our endeavor. Many thanks for your input. Now let me come to one of the largest network player, Mr. R.K. Tyagi, who is heading the operations of Power Grid, to share your thoughts on this. Yeah. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Ramesh. All panelists, all are agreeing for regional integrations. It will be beneficial for all the countries. When we are talking integration of South Asian countries with South Asian countries, then GCC countries, African and European. So when sun rises in, say, South Asian countries, the power from South Asian countries can come to India. It can go through India. It can go to Gulf countries. From Gulf countries, it can go to Europe and Africa. Similarly, when sun is there in, say, India, so it can send power back to South Asian countries like Thailand, Cambodia, and other countries, as well as to Gulf countries, Europe, and like that, Africa and other countries. In India, we have a very good example, when in 1980s, we had only state grids. All our states were connected through 220 kV network. Then with the formation of Power Grid in 1989, we were given the target of making a national grid. First, what we did, we made a regional grids. Like there were northern grid, western region, western grid, southern grid, eastern grid, and northeastern grid. Whereby 400 kV network, we interconnected all the states so that we have a strong regional grid. And with formation of regional grids, later on in early 2000, we decided that let us have a national grid. So we started with the integration of eastern grid with western grid. Then 2007, we integrated western grid with northern grid. Then 2013, we integrated western and southern grid also. And in between, we integrated eastern region and northern region in somewhere in 2008 or 9. After integration of this, now in earlier days, the voltage or there was a power scarcity in southern part of country, and voltage used to be very low. But with integration of all the grids, now the power can flow from any part of the country to other part of the country. And today we have installed capacity of about 112 gigawatt. And now power, wherever is generated, it can be transmitted anywhere. Like it can be transmitted to Leh and Ladakh and Jammu and Kashmir. So it is a very good example of regional integration. Similarly, we have integration, as Doctor told, that we have integration with Bhutan and Nepal. So Bhutan is access in hydropower. Hydropower in, say, in rainy season, they are supplying power to India. And in winter season, when the hydro is not there, we are supplying thermal power to Bhutan, back to Bhutan, so that their energy requirements can be met. So similar in this OSOWOG also, the power, because sun is shining every time in some part of the world, so the power can transfer from any corner of the world to other part of the world. So this is a very good initiative. With this, I stop here. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Mr. Tyagi, for your briefing on the integration within the country, which gives a lot of lessons for a more regional integration and our vision for one sun, one world. So with that, let me come to the last speaker, last panelist, Mr. Rajiv Porwal, because you are operating one of the biggest, I would say, the networks. So your operational experience also will give a lot of inputs for this OSOWOG. So I would request your thoughts on that.
Right. Yeah, thank you very much. Basically, there is no dispute or there is no other way that there is integration is beneficial to each and everybody, whether it is a small country, whether it's a large country, everybody benefits from the interconnection. I will give a small example that Bhutan, which used to export power primarily to India, now they are importing power from 2022 onwards. They are importing power during the winter months. This year they will be importing, last year they imported around 350 megawatt. This year they will be importing around 850 megawatt. So there is a vice versa, because of this interconnection only development has taken place in Bhutan, and that has led to a lot of say demand coming up in Bhutan also. So they will be importing power. Similarly, say Nepal, which used to take power from India, now they are exporting a lot of power because they have installed a lot of hydrogenating plants, which are beneficial to us also, to India also, to them also. Similarly, we are exporting to Bangladesh. And Bangladesh, they have, again, we have another one major, apart from this 1100 megawatt, which is connected through interstate transmission system, there is one private generator in India, which is supplying sorry, power around 1400, 1500 megawatt to Bangladesh. So a lot of interconnection has taken place. And another important factor, I will say, that there needs to be multi-level coordination is required, not only at one level, multi-level coordination is required for these interconnections to succeed. One is that, as far as, in our case, I will just give an example, that we have a joint steering committee between the two countries. Joint working groups are there, which are working on different technical parameters, that this is what need to be done, how it is need to be done. Then we have joint technical teams, will do in-depth technical analysis of technical studies that how this will be a stable interconnection. This should not, basically one important factor is that it should not jeopardize any of the grid. So that should be first principle, that it should benefit from the stability point of view, that this should benefit other grid also. Say whether it is protection setting, whether it is a frequency control, whether it is a voltage control. All these are not the from the finance side, but they are from the technical side, that this should not jeopardize other grid. So these are very, very fundamentally important. So at different level we have JOC, Joint Operating Committees, meeting between the two countries. So they decide on if any operational issues comes, that is taken care of. The market part can be taken out later on, because as we start, say, when we start transacting, there should be some small scheduling and division settlement mechanism. That should be their starting point. Later on, we can move to the market, because once we start communicating with each other, definitely we understand the rules, the regulations of each other, and how we can improve those rules and regulations, and we can put forward. Say we have been transacting since 70 for Bhutan, from 2013 with Bangladesh. Say Nepal also from very early days we have been transacting. Now we have full-fledged, they are also allowed to participate in Indian market. They can purchase in real time also, they can purchase or sell in real time, they can purchase. So this has taken some time. Why this has taken some time? Because to gain confidence, to gain that there is a transparency everywhere, this takes some time. So we should not immediately jump that, okay, from the day one it will start occurring a lot of benefits to each and everybody. Definitely it will start. But let us start in a very small way, and then slowly jack it up, so that it is beneficial, it becomes very conducive to everybody. So three things are important. One thing is that good institutions wherein we can collaborate with each other. Second is good technical collaboration, technical know-how. And third will be definitely economics. So I will put economics later on, because that will, in any case, will come. Let us first start with a small milestone, with interconnecting each other, and this will definitely help one and everyone. This is from operator side, and operator will always, whatever system is being given to them, they will try to always do maximize the economy from out of that. So this is what the operator always does, and they will definitely will do in all the countries. Everywhere, this is what the operator's job is. So they will do, and one thing is that let us move forward. That is the point only I will like to say. Thank you.
Many thanks, Mr. Porwal. Yeah. Many thanks, Mr. Porwal, for your inputs. Yeah, I think this is a everybody agrees, and I think that means it should give a lot of momentum for the entire process. So with that, our the panel discussion is over. We are on almost on time, but I will, if any one or two questions, I think Shubhendu is already there with the question ready. So yeah, over to you, Mr. Shubhendu. Yeah.
Exactly not a question, but maybe question to Mr. Sen, Mr. Taggi, and Mr. Pahwal. So we understand on the right-hand side of the India towards in Bangladesh, Bhutan, etc., you are connected. We also heard that on the western side, there is a huge potential. But the important is the connection between India and the West. Right? We also understand that by CEA report only, 20 under 800 of operation a year. Gigawatt, Mr. Pawal's POSOCO report on 95 percentile blocks available. The maximum 2.15. My question is that if you guys connected the middle one, India itself, the first one we that evening coal in India issue in the evening. 30 gigawatt hydro, 7 gigawatt nuclear. Rate of growth because the load.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm coming to the question.
It is coming. Also need to leave.
And no, it will be a question to all of it. The point is one utilization gigawatt coal. That is 1.5 billion gigawatt. That is underutilized, only 7% utilized. Interconnection can make immediate. The point is we understand that things will be done, everything. The MOU between UAE has sent to India got approved, discussed and finalized between Ministry of Power and us, Ministry of Energy UAE, in September last year. Till this 1 year, we are waiting for the MOU to be signed. And, if it is so important, just let us know when we go ahead on this.
Maybe we can take the other question and we answer together. There are another question.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe I didn't start with you from the beginning, but I'm really interested in the whole thing. And on the last thing you said, Mr., about us starting maybe from small, starting from a small beginning and then exploring bigger heights. Even as and this is very ambitious, one sun, one world, one grid. A lot of people, let me use West Africa as a point, in the rural areas don't have even access to electricity from the start point. And we want to do this. How are we starting with those people? How are they connected to this? Or are we looking to get a one grid first before these people come in? Or you could start something with them first. And then on the youth perspective, and if you are bringing communities together, how are those communities empowered? Is this considered for them to maintain this or for them to accept this? Else, if communities don't buy into it and are not receptive to this, it can delay the process and all that. So those are my 2 points. Thank you.
Thank you. So, please.
Thank you for very relevant questions. As presented by Dr. Subi Sen to the query from Mr. God. Yeah. So these techno-commercial feasibilities have been, studies have been carried out. In case you require the details, you can discuss with Dr. Subi Sen. I will be happy to share with you. Okay, this point, because this is being handled by Ministry of Power, so we can put a word to Ministry of Power.
So anyone would like to take the question from the young lady?
Thank you very much, the only lady here asking the question. Thank you. We are looking for one wall, one sun, one wall, and one grid. We are not saying that we are abandoning the, communities within our countries. For example, ISA has been the promoter of, access to renewable energy using solar to rural communities. And you can see they have just signed MOU, one of these countries now, to ISA make a presence there. And like in Nigeria, through the Rural Electrification Agency, the World Bank is here, and African Development Bank, we have a lot of funds from there to develop rural areas. And also in Nigeria, we have the electricity policy, that is Vision 3030, to generate 30 gigawatts by the year 20 with 30% share of renewable. And also to look at, access to rural communities. We have a lot of mini grids that are, built across the country for productive use, not only to provide point of light and maybe radio, even to provide point of light and maybe radio, even for grinding of, cassava, right hawks, milling of rice and some other things. And it cut across most of these, African countries and the developing countries. Even India itself, it has a lot of, off-grid connection using solar and some other renewable energy. That should be the primary of a country and a government. Because if there is no peace in the rural areas, definitely the urban area will be decongested. Everybody will migrate there before insecurity and so many things will come. So it's primary responsibility of any responsible government to make sure that make affordable electricity to rural communities, especially this generation, 21st century, that we are targeting solar. That's why you see all these eminent personalities, prime ministers, ministers were here to come and discuss this. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Mr. Abubakar. I think Honorable Minister also want to leave. We need to conclude the session. So I will, Madam.
Just one line.
Yeah.
The pools operate not just because of the time difference, but also seasonal difference, demand difference, resource difference, price difference. So unless you have to, and this is why even Gulf countries, they are only all in one resource, but there is a demand difference and there is an outage management issue. So India and Nepal, not price, not time difference alone. So we have to mobilize all differences. And Bangladesh has no resources, and Nepal and Bhutan have access hydro. Actually, without this, their hydro will not be utilized. So, and if, in fact, they chart out altogether different economic growth paths. And that, transforming the economies is also one of the major issues.
Many thanks. I think we need to, when there is an issue, we need to look into that. I think Shubhendu can have more discussions later as well. So I think we had a wonderful discussion today. I think a lot of inputs to Dr. Subirsan and also to complete the studies and take things forward. With that, I would request Honorable DG ISA to give a token of our appreciation for all the panelists and especially the Honorable Minister finding some time for this session. So I'll request Honorable DG.
This is the man. I'm just wondering. No, sorry. You already have. How come you already have? Acha. Acha. Yes.
Dr. Subir Sen, he had a wonderful decision. Dr. Sen.
Thank you very much.